Hi, I'm Mike Parker from Mining Footprint Limited. With me I've got Jake Erickson, who's our international relations practitioner. We're here at the PDAC in Toronto. Jake, we've been explaining to people that have come to our booth how we use international relations theories to help us understand the mining world. Can you just explain to us how that actually works, what are international relations theories and how they actually relate to mining?
Yes. International relations theories explain the behaviors of actors throughout the world, whether it be countries, communities, or even international organizations. All these different actors impact mining company operations in some way, shape, or form. So the one thing that unifies all these different actors is the fact that they're all social constructs. So international relations theory attempts to explain and assess the behaviors of artificial constructs created by people.
That's an interesting phase. Just explain to us what exactly is a social construct.
A social construct is a totally arbitrary creation made by people in which we associate a pattern of behaviors with a given label. Take, for instance, a community. A community comes into existence when multiple individuals identify themselves as a collective group around a shared pattern of behaviors, lived experiences, cultural norms, or even physical characteristics.
That's interesting. So in the same sense, a state can be a social construct as well.
Exactly. Just like a community, a state also has implied meanings and behaviors uniquely associated with the state. Take, for instance, fiscal policy, the provision of healthcare, the ability to interact with other countries on the global arena. These are all behaviors that we associate with the human construct that we call state.
And by extension, for instance, a commercial entity like a mining company can be a social construct as well.
Exactly. A mining company, like a state, like a community, has implied meanings that we associate with the company. For instance, the administrative structure associated with the officials in a mining company that we call administration or company. Take another example, the ability to procure minerals from the ground and then sell it on the open market. Now, any normal individual could theoretically do that, but you don't have a large overarching administrative structure also associated with the pulling out of minerals from the ground. We give all these different implied meanings that are all collectively associated together the name mining company.
I see. So in that sense, where a group of individuals or members of a community have come together or people have formed a nation, that is in fact a social construct. And each of those social constructs has its individual characteristics. I would think, for instance, for a mining company, a very strong part of its identity would be the mineral that it mines, whether it be a copper company or a gold company or an alumina company. That would give it a different social construct, distinct from other mining companies, even though a lot of the characteristics of how the company works are essentially similar.
Exactly. A gold company and a silver company are both mine companies, and yet a gold company is a different social construct than a silver company. And that difference is made by the material that they extract from the ground, one being gold and the other being silver.
Okay. So in that sense, international relations theories allows us to identify those social constructs and then understand the interaction between those social constructs as they occupy the same space in the world.
Exactly. International relations theory is an objective measure for us to determine what all these different implied meanings, characteristics, and behaviors are that create the social construct.
Okay. And was it always like that?
No. Originally, international relations revolved around the interactions between countries. In fact, traditional international relations theories solely viewed countries as these black boxes in which humans within them, different organizations, had no tangible impact on the relations between countries. That changed over time once we found that actors, sub-state actors like the community, like international organizations, or like the mining company, could actually impact policy at the local, national, and even international levels.
I see. So, in other words, international relations has gone through an evolution. Where it started off, as the name implies, as only being between countries, and as more actors have become involved, more and more complex situations have evolved, and more theories have evolved to understand the relationship between the various actors in those complex situations. That's very, very interesting, because there's a very strong parallel in the mining world where we see that 30 to 40 years ago, if a mining company had in its possession a mining license and had the technical ability to build a mine, it was a straightforward process to proceed and build the project. And things that were outside the sphere or outside the fence of the project, such as environmental concerns and social concerns, were treated in a different manner to the way they're treated today. And I think what's happened is, with the radical transparency in the world today and with the shortage of resources, mining companies are interacting more and more in the social and environmental world, and are becoming more and more conscious of the need to obtain a permission or a license to operate, which is commonly called a social license. So in that respect, just as this is the way that international relations have mushroomed with more and more actors, mining projects have mushroomed with more and more actors as well. So we can actually use international relations theories to describe some of the interactions between those actors in a much more holistic way, in a way that is not very singular or very simple, but to describe situations that are quite complex and quite difficult to comprehend in a very simple manner.
Sure. Think about the movements ongoing in the industry even today. For instance, the environmental movement, or a feminist movement, or other movements that might present either critiques or challenges, or even just observations about ongoing trends, not just in the mining industry, but other industries as well. A movement itself is a social construct. So we apply and associate certain meanings with a movement. For instance, the environmental movement. There's something about the name environmental movement that evokes this meaning of environmental concerns, or something that's unique to the environmental world. Our ability to understand what concerns those entail are facilitated by international relations theory, which explains what those implied meanings are and relates it to a broader geopolitical context.
Very interesting. If we take some examples, say, of projects that are not in an ideal situation, they're in a less than ideal situation, projects that are facing challenges from community or challenges from environmental situations that are not ideal, or challenges from climate change concerns, is it possible to use international relations theories to examine those projects in a different way?
Yes. International relations theory, as stated before, looks at all the different implied meanings and associations that revolve around a human construct. If a critique exists, international relations theory can be used to facilitate the deconstruction of that social construct into all these requisite behaviors and associations, so that we may better understand what goes into the movement. Once we are able to deconstruct this artificial edifice into its different parts, we may better understand what parts do and don't belong, and then reconstruct an alternative reality that better addresses the problem.
That's very interesting. Deconstructing the constructed. So we can actually use international relations theories to break down the component parts of a very complex situation. Look at the parts individually and in isolation, or some of them combined with others, to see how they interact. we can look at some parts of that problem that are giving issues or are giving problems to the overall project. And if we identify then some parts that are missing, we can identify those parts and add them back in to the mix and then reconstruct this social construct, which is the project, to create something which is more optimal, which is for the benefit of all of the stakeholders and all of the people involved in the project.
Yes. Now, keep in mind, we all carry our own implied meanings and our own biases. So part of the advantage of using the theory is that we can somewhat remove ourselves from our own biases with the understanding that no knowledge is ever truly objective. So when we use theory to break down all these different meanings, we're able to more holistically assess the different pieces that might present a challenge or in the form of this construct, whether it be a movement or a local community bringing up concerns about the detriments that a project might bring, or alternatively, hopes that a community might have for an incoming project. So it's neither good nor bad, it's intended to be neutral, and the action that we take on behalf of that information is ultimately what determines the outcome.
Ah, very interesting. Okay. Thanks for that time. Thanks for your time explaining those things to us. So basically, as we've seen, mining situations today are much more complex than they were in the past. Mining companies strive to obtain the social license to operate, or the social license. And what we think in our company is that by using international relations theories, we can delve deeper behind the meaning of social license and see things that are more profound and things that are more impactful, and basically manage that information and manage the relationship between those entities better to give a social license, if one wishes to call it that is more profound, is more durable, and is more relevant to a project, such that as the project proceeds, the benefits of responsible mining will be accrued to everybody in a more satisfactory and in a clearer manner. Jake, thanks very much for your time. Hope to see you in Toronto next year.
I look forward to it.
Thank you.